Welcome back. Now, South Africa ranks 60th out of 158 countries in the 2025 Illicit Trade Environment Index by TRACIT. The illicit economy has grown since the pandemic, mainly impacting the alcohol and tobacco industries, as well as mining, food and pharmaceuticals. Philippe Van Gils, Director of Illicit Trade Prevention at Philip Morris International, joins us to unpack the findings of the index, along with recommendations on how to curb the scourge. Philippe, thanks so much for your time this afternoon. Now, as we get started, just take us through how the report has been compiled, some of the key metrics that were considered here when it comes to ranking the countries.
Okay, good afternoon, Tarang, and thank you for hosting me on your program. Yeah, so the way they did the index, they look at economic data, many from the OECD, from different sources, like also from the World Customs Organization and so forth. And then they also did interviews of a lot of experts in the domain, and that led to cross-rank the countries according to different elements. And the purpose is really to identify where the countries have their strengths and where there are areas of improvement.
All right, so let's talk about South Africa then when it comes to the strengths and weaknesses. We've ranked 60th on the list. Was this a better or worse performance when compared to last year? And what are some of the contributing factors to that? What are we doing better? What can we do better?
Yeah. So, very good question. I mean, on the taxation, economic environment, regulatory framework and enforcement, and trade, customs and borders, South Africa ranks well in comparison to the other countries. And then areas of improvements are the criminal enablers of illicit trade, supply chain intermediaries, and also sectorial illicit trade indicators. And overall, South Africa ranks better than the global average, and better than the other African countries.
All right. And then, in the report, this team speaks about this public-private sector collaboration. Talk to me about practical examples on how this would look like. How would the private sector work with the government when it comes to illicit trade? Would it be, I don't know, putting in money to, fund initiatives around crime?
Okay. Yeah, it's a good question. Actually, the event that took place yesterday at Busa is already an example as such, where private sector and the government representatives met. We discussed about the policy recommendation. So this is already an exchange of ideas and plans that can be good. Obviously, we also, across the globe, partner with law enforcement authorities when we have intelligence that we can share. We also promote evidence-based and risk-proportionate regulation and fiscal framework that can support also to address illicit trade. We try to share also positive international experience. We also have different areas of technologies, for instance, on the traceability of our products, or also on how we can spot illicit trade on the online platform.
Yeah.
And then obviously we support international association or local association like the BUSA, BLSA in South Africa, and TRACIT in this instance, which is an international trade association where we are a member with other multinationals.
And talk to me about some of the industries that are hurt the most by illicit trade.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know particularly my domain, which is the tobacco sector, but I know that in South Africa, many sectors are affected, like apparel. We have also the alcohol industry, the mining industry. So it's a global problem in South Africa. We know that the government start to put a focus on it. There are streams with BLSA in the initiative of Business for South Africa, where all these elements are discussed with the government to take action, because there is a need to do so.
Yeah. And have we been seeing an improvement? I mean, we saw the height of some of the illicit trade during the COVID-19 pandemic. When we, compare what was happening in 2020 to 2025, have we been seeing those initiatives that were implemented there, have we started reaping those rewards?
Well, there's been good activities from SARS in the domain, but we remain still at high levels. We still at around 58% of illicit in our industry, which represents still 18 billion rand, of loss of from the government per year. So it's still substantial, and I think that. One of the elements is that we need also to look at the regulations that are put in place, the enforcement, and there is a need also to significantly increase the penalties and the sentences for the ones that are involved in illicit trade activities in this country.
And besides those, increasing penalties and those kind of methods, what other recommendations have been put through?
Well, in our industry in particular, and this is where I think we need to modernize, or one of our suggestions is to modernize the regulatory framework. In our industry, for instance, we invest a lot of money, 14 billion since 2008, in developing scientifically substantiated smoke-free products with the objectives to get our current consumers who are not able to quit smoking to move to these better alternatives that are scientifically proven to be less harmful. Now, the current Tobacco Products and Electronic Delivery System Control Bill, in its current form, does not incentivize the consumers to switch to these better alternatives. And the consequences is that they continue to smoke cheap and unregulated cigarettes, which defeat the government revenue objectives and defeats also health objectives in a way. So you need to adjust also the regulation to the developments that are going in our industry in particular, but I guess also it's valid across the industry. And that's a key priority for us.
All right, Philippe, thanks so much for your time and just taking us through that index and the findings from the report. That was Philippe Van Gils, Director of Illicit Trade Prevention at Philip Morris International.